Hey everybody, it's Abby Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are today. I am here in very hot and sunny Boston. And every Wednesday we go live to do our member spotlight where we drop in on one of our members in their studios and get to learn more about their business and their creative journey and see some of their products. And today we're going to be talking with Kat Bierkens from Terra. Very excited to talk with her. She's got a super cool business. So as we wait for Kat to come on, I thought I would just tell you that we have a really great event coming up. It's the first Tuesday of July. So that's really coming up soon and next week. And it is going to be the Craft Business Roundtable, which is a time when all of our members are invited to gather together online on Zoom. And we have a 45-minute meeting, and you can talk about what's going on in your business, ask questions, seek some help from other people, find new collaborators, and we also talk about what's going on in the industry. So we talk about kind of industry news. In the past, we've had some fantastic conversations about things like the future of virtual events and whether they're going to go hybrid, disappear entirely, stick around, and sort of in what context they're the best, and in what context they haven't really worked in the craft industry. So that's been a big topic. And we've also talked about all different kinds of things happening in the crafts industry. So if that sounds interesting to you and you would like to join us for our Craft Business Roundtable, you can do that just by becoming a member of Craft Industry Alliance, and then you'll get the invite and you will be there on the first Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern. So we have that coming up, and then we have one other live event coming up in July, which is a webinar. It's going to be taught by surface pattern designer and online instructor Shannon McNabb. Shannon is a beautiful surface pattern designer, and she's also a super organized person. And she has come up with ways to use a tool. It's a free tool that you can find online called Airtable. And it's kind of like if you imagine an Excel spreadsheet, but like super powered. So you can do so much more than you could do with a regular Excel spreadsheet with Airtable, including embedding forms and images and all kinds of things. And she's used Airtable to organize her entire creative business. And so she's going to be teaching a live webinar for us on the second Thursday of July. And it's going to be all about how to use Airtable to organize anything that you can think of. So I'm super excited to be welcoming Shannon then, and I hope you'll be able to join us for that. I see my Terra Mia, I see you're here, Kat. If you want to request to join, then I will let you in. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, here we go. And so again, that's for members. It's always free for members. All of our webinars are recorded. So if you have to step out or you can't make that time, you can see it later. Hey, how are you, Kat?
I'm good, and for some reason, your live wasn't showing on my phone, so I'm going to see, because I have the phone all set up, but we'll do it this way. This will be fine. I'm just holding my iPad.
Okay, sounds good. Your connection isn't super clear. Like, we can see you, and we can see the fibers behind you, but it's not crystal clear. I don't know whether there's any way to improve that before we start, or do you want to just plow forward?
Let me go ahead and try to join from my phone, and we'll see if that helps, okay?
Okay. Do you want to disconnect and
out.
reconnect? You can do that, or switch over.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure, no problem. Always hard on IGTV Live. So let's see. The other thing that I'm working on today that I was actually just doing before we started was editing the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. And our next episode releases on Monday. If you haven't listened to our podcast before, they're interview shows. It's an hour-long interview with a creative person who has built an impressive business. And so on Monday, the episode is with Lee Metcalf. If you don't know Lee, she has Top Stitch Studio, which is amazing. And it was a brick and mortar shop for a while. And she talks about how you start a brick and mortar shop, which seems like such a huge job, but she totally did it and knows how to do it. So she's going to convey those tips and tricks. And then over the period of the pandemic, she has pivoted to creating a membership site for online learning and crafting, and it's also super neat. So she kind of talks about how to do both of those things. So if you are interested in hearing about that, definitely join us on Monday for the Craft Industry Alliance podcast to hear that episode with Lee from Top Stitch. And other than that, over here in my studio with all these stuffed animals and dolls behind me, I am working on a Raggedy Ann doll. Hey, you're back. How are you, Kat? I think the connection's a little clearer, so that was worth trying.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so do you want to start by just telling us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Kat Bierkens from Terra Farm, and I started raising livestock in 2010. And I started off raising blue-faced Leicesters and Gotlands. And I started taking them to shows and really was just involved in the livestock part of the sheep industry. And then I started going to shows like Black Sheep Gathering and Oregon Flock and Fiber. And I noticed how wonderful these festivals are, and people were bringing great product. And I was just starting to process my own fleeces. So I set up a booth at I think I did Black Sheep first. And I made some sales, and it was pretty exciting. And I just really enjoyed being part of that community. And so in the back of my mind, I was thinking, okay, well, I need to start doing more and building up more inventory. And I'd like to do maybe some farmers markets. And so I just kept doing shows at like Oregon Flock and Fiber, but then COVID hit and there weren't any more shows to do. So I actually got involved in a group called the Wool and Fiber Arts Online. It's through Facebook. And we started doing festivals every month. And I actually was making pretty good sales. So it was really exciting. And I've met a bunch of really wonderful other farmers and vendors, and we've grown as a group, and I've learned a lot. So my business has actually taken a turn. I'm doing more of spinning fibers, and I'm bringing product in from some of those other vendors as well. So I'm not just processing my own fleeces, but I'm processing fleeces from across the United States from other fiber farms. And so it's just a really great community. So yeah, what I've been doing basically is just listening to my customers and figuring out what they want, and then trying to provide a product that they enjoy. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope I answered your question.
And can you tell us some of the steps for someone who's never sort of looked into what it requires to process a fleece? Tell us some of like the major steps that you go through.
Sure. And processing a fleece is a pretty big challenge sometimes for somebody who's new at it, because there can be some pitfalls. The first pitfall is purchasing the fleece. So when you go to a fiber festival and you purchase a fleece, you can look at it and it might look great in the bag, but there are some things that you need to be careful of, because you could purchase a bad fleece. So you want to make sure that there's not a lot of VM, which is vegetable matter, in the fleece. You want to make sure that it's a sound fleece, and you could do that by taking a piece of the a lock and snapping it and making sure it doesn't break when you pull on it. So once you do that and you find a fleece that you're happy with and you take it home, it's important to let that fleece breathe a little bit. You don't want to keep it all bundled up until you process it. So let it breathe a little bit so it doesn't get too sweaty. And then you want to, there's different products that you can do to wash your wool. You can use Unicorn Power Scour. Some people use Dawn. But the basics is just to make sure that your water is super, super hot, because that will melt the lanolin. So you would fill a tub full of really, really hot water, add a little soap, put your wool in there. You don't want to agitate it very much. And then what I do is I take the wool out after half hour, and I try to match the temperature for the second rinse to make sure it's still hot, because the lanolin that you just released from that fleece, if you put that fleece back in cold water or cool water, it will reattach itself to the fiber, and then you're going to struggle with it. So the second rinse should also be hot. And I say rinse meaning you just want to gently put that fleece in the container and not agitate it, because agitating will cause felting. And so then after that, you can let it cool down, and you can do rinse cycles until the water is clear. So that's basically it in a nutshell. It's not that hard, but you do have to be careful about letting that lanolin redeposit on the wool. The other thing that you have to watch out for is scurf. Sometimes you can get a fleece that looks great in the bag, but then after you wash it, you realize there's a bunch of little white skin flakes in there, and that can be a real disappointment as well. So it's really important, especially if you start buying fleeces online, to trust the person that you're purchasing from. Trust your shepherd. If you find something in your fleece you're not happy with, contact your shepherd first. Often they're very, very, very eager to work with you and replace the item or make some other arrangements.
That's great. So interesting. Thank you for explaining that. That is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about some of the products. I see so many beautiful skeins of yarn and fibers behind you. Can you explain a little bit about what you have there?
Sure. So I try, when I have my online shows, and even when I go to in-person events, to have something like a project for everybody. So we have people that want to do spinning, and they want it just really easy. They don't want to have to do much prep. They want the perfect fiber. And so I make these, they're called Rolex, and they're just super easy to spin. And these are made with blue-faced luster and silk and mohair. So they're kind of a luxury spin, really easy. You don't have to think about prep. And then kind of the next level up is probably a bat. So I also sell bats. Let's see if I have one here real quick. So a bat is just a carded blanket of fiber that you pull off and you spin with, and it's basically prepared fiber. So that's a little bit easy to spin as well, because it's already carded, it's easy to open it, easy to draft. To fly there. And then after that, I have roving, and I predominantly sell merino roving and BFL roving. I do raise blue-faced luster sheep, and so I use a lot of their wool in my products. Because of the quantity that I'm selling right now, I don't have enough sheep to supply all the roving that I purchase. But I do purchase wool from a mill that's certified in as far as ethical treatment of their sheep. So that's really important to me. So we have roving. And then the other thing that we have is I'll put together spinning kits or bat making kits. And that's where I utilize some of the locks from my sheep. So here's an example. This is actually a spinning box. And we'll talk a little bit, we might talk about it a little bit. It's one of my, I sell those at my shows.
I'd love to hear what's inside.
Yeah, I sell these at my shows, as well as I have the fiber CSA that we can talk about a little bit. But so what I do is I try to match the fibers, because oftentimes you go to a show and you find one braid that you're really excited about, and a little bit of locks, but maybe they don't all go together. So I try to create a kit so that if somebody wanted to make their own bat or use their own blending board, they'd have all the components for that. And they get to try different fibers and see how they feel. So this I have, a lot of times I'll feature some of the locks from my sheep. And so in this particular box, I've got, these are blue-faced luster locks. And I shear the sheep on a stand, and I hand shear them. And a lot of times I'll broadcast that on my Facebook page, just because it's interesting to see.
Yeah.
And it's a really relaxing thing for both the sheep and for myself. It takes me about 20 minutes to do it. But it's nice because I get to really touch base with that animal and see if there's anything wrong, kind of check their health, look at their skin condition. I get an idea of their temperament. And this is especially important with lambs too, because, you know, as a shepherd, you have to decide who you're going to keep and who you're going to sell. You can't keep everybody. So a lot of that depends, you know, when I have them on the stand, it's their temperament, their behavior. And something that's really interesting is I've noticed even wild lambs that I get them on the stand and they're all scared. By the end of the process, they've really calmed down and they're friendlier to me out in the field. Like we've made a connection there. And I think that's really interesting. So anyway, it has, the other thing it has is this is some BFL roving, and this was processed at Zillinger's wool mill in Michigan, and that's one of the wool mills that we like to send product to. There's other vendors at the Wool and Fiber Arts group that really like that mill as well. And then here's some Gotland roving. So there's just some different fibers and some different textures that kind of all go together. And with my fiber boxes, you know, I try to make sure that I have warm colors or cool colors. And I just kind of take the lead from my customers. What are they looking for? Sometimes they'll say, I have this picture inspiration. What do you got for me? And we'll put something together, and it actually turns out like great. Like everybody wants one of those. So that's been a lot of fun. And gosh, yeah, I think I hope I answered your question about that.
Yeah, that's super cool. And it's great to, you know, get a box from somebody who really knows what they're doing and what, you know, has lots of experience for someone who's less experienced, because as you said, you get everything that you need and can go from there and not worry. And I think that's so helpful. So tell us, you mentioned that you have a fiber CSA, and I've been part of a vegetable CSA here in the Boston area for 15 years now, my family has. And so I'm very familiar with the CSA model, where you pay up front and then you get to take part in the harvest throughout the entire summer. And we love that, obviously. So tell us about what a fiber CSA is.
Okay. Well, I actually have two programs. One is our sponsor sheep program. And this year we have 13 sheep sponsors, but we're full for this year. So we have different plans, but basically they adopt a lamb or a sheep. Oftentimes they get to name the animal, and then they build a relationship with that animal online. We have a sponsored sheep chat on Facebook. And so I post pictures on there quite frequently. I try to get everybody as frequently as I can. And then they get little tokens throughout the months, but what they're waiting for is the fleece. So when the fleece gets sheared, they'll get all or a portion of that fleece. And sometimes we do have yearly sponsorships, and they might even get 2 fleeces within the year. So they get updates on how the fleece is growing out, and they get funny stories about what's happening with the sheep. So it's been a really great program. This is my first year that I've done it. And I really started it because there was a need. People were asking, you know, we don't have these in-person events. I usually go and I find a fleece and I talk to the shepherd, and there's some kind of connection because I'm spinning Margaret's fleece, you know, but we just didn't have that last summer. So this is giving them a connection to their fleece. And when they receive it, it'll be special to them. And they've had a relationship with me and with the whole process. And I try to touch base on what it means to be a shepherd as well, and what happens, you know, when I'm feeding. Like, we've had a huge heat wave here, and it's been really difficult. So I've been giving updates on what we've been doing for that. So that's one of the CSAs that I have. The other one is the fiber box. And I'd mentioned that I'm putting different fibers in there, but I'm also collaborating with other shepherds in our Wool and Fiber Arts group that I've met and purchased from. So I'm pretty particular about my wool, and I include I include some other fibers in my spinning bats and my Rolags. And I found through purchasing from these vendors across the United States which ones I prefer that have like top quality product. And I offer to include their fiber in my CSA box as well. And so you might get, for example, I'm working with Whirlwind Ranch, and they have wonderful alpaca fiber, and so that gets blended into my Rolags, but you might find some token from them in that fiber box as well. Teeswater locks. I don't raise Teeswater sheep, but I absolutely love dyeing Teeswater. I'll show you some of these wonderful locks. Look at that. So I got these from Susan's Fiber Shop. You guys might be familiar with her. So I'll be featuring her in my fiber box as well. So it's just kind of a fun collaboration with different vendors across the United States that I've built a relationship with. And so not only does it mean a lot to me to be able to provide those fibers, but I think it means a lot to the community that I've been selling to as well, because they're also familiar with those vendors, and they can get a little bit of fiber to try. And if they like it like I do, then they might start buying from that other vendor as well. So it's kind of a
Right.
win-win for
Yeah,
everybody.
that's an incredible
And
collaboration. That's great.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So if people are interested in becoming part of the CSA, getting a box, or just like, excuse me, learning more about you and about your process and about being a shepherd, how can people find you online and get more involved?
Okay. Well, I have a Facebook page. It's My Terra Mia, so it's facebook.com My Terra Mia, and I'm also on Instagram under My Terra Mia. And both those places are great to go like my Instagram and my Facebook page, because I post quite frequently, and you definitely can get an idea of how things work on the farm, and silly stories and pictures. I do try to post pictures as I create for my next show. So I often use farm inspirations, photographs that I've taken on the farm, for some of my inspirations. And every month my colorways might change a little bit depending on the season. And also, for example, as we get closer to Christmas or in the fall when we're all in the house, I'm doing a lot more needle felting kits. And then in the summer when we have like Tour de Fleece, I'm doing a lot more of the spinning fibers, just to get it out and get everybody ready for spinning. So I also have a website. It's myterramia.com, and there is a CSA page. And I do have where you can put in your information and I'll contact you, because I have different plans for different people and different budgets, and I really like to personalize it. What I've found is people don't want fiber that's not their color, right? You don't want, like, if you're not a green person and you get a green fiber box that you felt like you paid good money for, you're a little disappointed. So I want to avoid that. So what I do is I just work with the person and we decide what colors work for them, and we tailor that fiber box for them so that they're not receiving stuff that they're not really thrilled about. So that would be the
That's
best way, if you're
amazing.
interested in a fiber box, to fill out that
Yeah.
form, and then I'll
Kat, this has been such a cool thing to learn about, and I love your business and I love your dedication, and I'm just super excited for you. And I just wanted to say thank you for being a Craft Industry Alliance member as well. And I hope people will come check out My Terra Mia.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week for our next member spotlight. Bye.